President Trump is surrounded by the wealthiest cabinet, the wealthiest administration in modern U.S. history. Does this concern you?
I don't think it's so much about their wealth. It's just because they might have some kind of the views or some things that I don't agree, and they would push a lot of decisions and changes in our government that I wouldn't support or would like to see happen in there too. So it doesn't really follow their wealth. For me, it just follows some of these kinds of core beliefs and the things that they're willing to push and to do.
What about this idea that we're sort of creating American oligarchs?
Yeah, and I would ask Democrats, like, start talking like a regular person. Most people are not sure what an oligarch is. You know, it's like, okay, is an oligarch, is it like a rich dude or woman? Okay, well, but there's also a little secret too. Democrats, you know, we like billionaires if they're giving to our causes or to our party as well too.
But there's a difference. Hold on. There's a difference between a very wealthy donor.
It's unlimited money. It's unlimited money. That's the poison of American democracy. Get rid of unlimited money, and then that would render billionaires on either side to those kinds of a thing. And so remember, a lot of these billionaires that were in tech, they used to be more friendly to the Democratic interest in our party as well too. So,
but
unlimited money, get rid of that, and that would transform America more than any single other.
He wear that hoodie every time.
Bro, he just, you know.
One hoodie?
I don't know.
You on a congressman's salary.
I don't know,
You can't get a couple different hoodies.
I don't know.
You can't buy some dress pants.
Bro,
maybe he
in grind mode. He in grind hoodie mode. You know, he don't want to change.
At the very least, you can go get some of them, some Lululemon pants. They look like khakis at least.
You think he gonna waste his money on some goddamn
Lululemon? Waste his money? He's on the congressman's salary.
He don't want to waste his money.
He might not be doing He'll be the last one, I think, doing some corruption in there. How he look?
He has brain damage. He has brain damage.
I mean, that's not corrupt though.
He don't know nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's crazy because he make the most sense out their party.
Yeah, that's why he continued to not spend his money on some dumb shit.
It's dumb to buy dress clothes.
Hey, to him.
Baby.
I promise you, I wouldn't vote for him off the strength of what he got on alone. And that's just me.
All he want to do is work.
Not in that, he ain't finna represent my district.
Any wall would cost billions of dollars and have very limited effectiveness.
But the concept of stop the overstaying of visas, I guess, doesn't have the same ring to it as build that wall.
It doesn't. But you build a wall and someone else is going to build a higher ladder. I just want to point something out to our colleagues over at Fox and Friends. I don't think there's anyone who is saying a life of a child in Idaho or Iowa means less than someone on the other side of the border. I think this is about humanity and the mistreatment of children. And if you are so worried about how every American child is treated, think about the money that is being blown, that is being spent, that is being flushed down a toilet for this political theater. You would think that undocumented immigrants are bringing higher rates of violent crime to the United States. Well, guess what? They are not. Statistics, facts show that they're actually less likely to commit violent crimes than U.S. citizens are. And if you took the president and his most ardent allies at their word, you would think terrorists are pouring in across the border. You would believe them, because shouldn't people believe their government leaders? It was a week ago that President Trump tweeted this: our southern border has long been an open wound where drugs, criminals, including human traffickers and illegals, would pour into our country. And I have to say something quickly. You do not see the majority of drugs pour into our country on foot. That is not true. And having a wall isn't the only option for border security.
Jesus saying on the night he was handed over to suffering and death, in the words of the right, he commanded us to love one another as I have loved you. And I think that was the guiding star for this Pope.
Blessed are the meek. Juxtapose that, though, John, with how different that is with where we are as a society right now. Not just Americans, but Europeans around the world, how this anti-immigrant movement has risen up. Well, you have a Pope who over and over made it his mission to talk about the importance of protecting those who are most vulnerable.
This is crazy.
Well, you have, democracy and Christianity, and this is not to get into Christian nationalism and the often unhealthy blending of faith and power politics, but democracy and Christianity have a great deal in common. It requires us to see one another as fellow children of God. And that may sound grand or soft somehow, but that is, in fact, the motive force of democracy.
I gotta say something, bro. Why us as a nation then just letting these people just come across our border? Why we just can't help their countries actually be a sufficient country?
Because it's going to cost too much to build a wall, bro.
And then on top of that, when somebody actually have control of their country where people can actually live in their country safely, you call them a dictator.
I don't know, man. I really don't know what they're planning.
Like, what do they
like, I would
people
actually
want?
would pay for assimilation just to see what would happen if Democrats ran and if Republicans ran.
We just saw it.
And I'm just saying, though,
saw
like,
it
for
in
50
Maryland.
years, though. Like, just give them just strictly the whole thing for 50 years.
I heard a stat that if you took women off the vote, we would have never had a Democrat president.
Are you serious? Are you for real, bro?
This dude here crazy.
Hey, nah, but that's a crazy stat.
That's a real stat, bro.
Yeah.
Chill out, bro. Chill out, bro. You joking, right? Chill out, bro. That can't be real, bro. Stop laughing, bro. That sounds too extreme.
Hey, bro, no way,
That's
bro.
an extreme stat.
Says Obama would have lost in 2012 and Joe Biden would have lost in 2020.
Because the media, the news media is, in my opinion, the last line of defense of holding power accountable. Right? And you had a bit of a perfect storm, right? President Trump won, and tons of people were shocked or angry or frustrated, and they're tuning out. And at the same time, you have the Elon Musk media machine, because they want you to leave traditional media, and they want you to go to X, which is a bastion of misinformation where there is no fact checking. So it's a perfect storm of people saying, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm tuning out, I'm disconnecting. And then you have a force pushing it. But even in the last 2 weeks, what we need to do is just cover what's happening in America, right? We have to cover Democrats trying to figure out what their lane is and how they're going to get back on their feet. And we have to simply cover what this White House is doing. And I think if we do that, right, there's that saying, trust is gained in raindrops and it's lost in buckets. And it's not yes, you're not incorrect that the media has lost trust.
This is where I would push back. When I see this kind of insight and passion being directed at the current administration and the lack of this kind of insight and passion being directed at the previous administration.
That's what I was gonna say.
Where, again, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about left-leaning news media organizations were kind of like, la, 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 everything's fine. Look, the environment's
good.
Look, the economy's great. La, 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 immigration's not that much of a problem. And really being Cleopatra, queen of denial. Thank you. Boom.
I would push back on immigration. I can specifically remember when
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pause that.
Greg Abbott of Texas and Ron DeSantis of Florida sent those buses of migrants to different cities, different parts of the country, which ended up being politically genius for both of them. The media regularly talked about the fact that Biden was not doing enough in his first 2.5 years on immigration. Even though in the last year and a half, you're seeing the numbers go down, he just wasn't doing enough. And you saw it in how people voted, right? You had places like the Bronx, you had places like New Jersey, people who said, I'm not happy with immigration in this country. And that's why Democrats are scrambling to recalibrate now. But I do think that was covered. And I interviewed Vice President Harris in September. And I remember asking her, I said, nobody's eating cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio. However, there are lots of people who live there who aren't happy with the amount of immigrants who have moved there, legally or not, because now their hospitals are stretched and their schools are stretched. And that's the same thing in tons of communities in the country. What do you say to that? And I remember her answer was, well, we had this immigration bill and Donald Trump blocked it. And she's right. So there's nothing to put. She's right. Donald Trump did block the bill, but that doesn't address how people in the country feel.
and just getting mired in, well, we tried to pass
Build
this
some
thing and
money in
it didn't happen. What Republicans have been successful at, and they have not solved any of these
Trump
issues
had
for the
power,
American
he not
people,
in
but they're
power.
willing to say some of the not ugly, they're willing to talk about some of the unpleasant things that people feel. That when people say those things out loud, they're immediately called, xenophobic or racist.
yeah.
And we have to make space for how people feel. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
My mom and dad live in New Jersey.
Most people, a large majority of people who have a problem with the current immigration crisis and have for the last 5 or 10 years are not racist, but often kind of tarred as racist by
Listen,
the liberal left.
I will tell you, if you go on the internet, people there's loads of clips that will come after me.
I heard about this internet thing. What is it?
After the election, I had
All right. So clearly she is suffering from lack of accountability, lack of self-awareness, and she just wants to continue this same dead horse that they've been riding.
Well,
Blame Trump, blame Elon. We didn't do nothing wrong.
Bring the illegals, but they was hurting people because they couldn't get no hospitals and the schools was filled and there was no homes for people. But you know what? That's Trump's fault. So we gotta be humane people and still let them come over, even though that's hurting people.
She said in one of the clips that kids in Iowa and Idaho don't matter more than kids on the other side of the border. I would argue that's false.
For Americans,
I
they
have to
should
keep it
matter
100.
more.
American children matter more than other children in America.
Joe Biden,
Is that
to
crazy
the
to
American
say?
government, they're saying like morally, like, oh, one person doesn't matter more than the other, but to your government, you're responsible. They're responsible for
For
their
your
people.
citizens.
They're
Joe
the future
Biden
of this
said.
country.
Joe Biden said black kids is just as bright as white kids.
No, he said
He said he didn't want his kids to go to school in a racial jungle with you
white
Negroes.
kids are just as smart as poor kids or something.
No, he
like
said
that.
he said black kids and other kids are smart as the other ones.
No, but he said
He
something.
said poor kids.
He butchered.
He didn't say
it.
black. He said poor.
Yeah, I think he said white and he said poor, and he like insinuated that the.
I think he said. I don't know.
said
He
these
said
poor
something
kids.
crazy.
Yeah,
Well, we gotta
I
keep it
think
100,
white
man.
Kids are just as
Smart as
Stephanie Rule
poor kids.
has no accountability. She has no self-awareness, and she's a part of the
what he
problem. She's 1,000% a part of the problem. She was advocating for the very thing that she said, well, American people are saying that they don't like immigration. They don't like immigration. Oh, but it's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault. Why would it be Trump's fault? Trump has
Giving the
been.
people what they want.
Why would the people trust you, who is an agent of the media that's advocating for illegals to come here, when we've seen the polling that the media has released that majority of America is against illegal immigration? They don't want people to continue to come here and live in their communities and live off the government's dime while we struggle. Yet people like her are advocating for that, telling us why we're wrong, we're bigots, we're racist, we're all these things. And now it's Trump's fault that they don't want to watch you and tune into you and
All you
listen to
gotta
you
do
peddle this bullshit?
It's just be a good listener. Bill Maher, that's why he exposed everything. Say, I'm not gonna lie. I went there and Trump was listening. So to be the president, say, what do y'all want, people? That's when I'm gonna get to y'all.
boom.
Simple as that. Let's leave it at that. That's all it is to it. It ain't about all this who feel like and all this feelings. What do the people want?
I would like to
And
give
that's
some
what's gonna
respect,
get you
though.
They forget that this is America and the people do make the choices.
We pay the taxes.
I would like to give some props, though, to Rainn Wilson, though. Dwight from The Office. He was keeping it 100. I like what he had to
that
say.
is Dwight.
I think
didn't
he hit the.
realize
I
that.
think
That
he
is
hit
Dwight.
the nail on the head.
that is
Yeah, that's Dwight, bro.
I thought he was gonna be
That's
a
crazy.
liberal.
No, he's extremely liberal. He is extremely liberal. He left X because he said it's a cesspool of hate. He's a liberal. He's a Hollywood liberal. Anybody who made their bones in Hollywood, liberal.
But when liberals make the,
I ain't gonna say all of them.
A lot of them. 90. The Avengers got on
98%.
there. But let's not forget. They didn't win a
98%.
swing state,
I know.
the
I'm just
full
saying, not
Avengers
all
got
of them
on
though.
there.
That's it.
So not the Avengers.
Bro, I think anybody who made their bones in Hollywood, liberal.
No, yeah.
I think maybe 99%.
Except for what was the dude? Was it we met Dennis Quaid?
Oh, yeah. He made his bones in Hollywood years ago.
He the only one.
And you want to know why he probably did that? Because he was playing Ronald Reagan in the movie and he was trying to promote.
That's not bad. You know.
Shout out to
Maybe he
Dennis
wanted to do it.
Quaid.
You know, who knows?
I know
yeah.
his son is. His son, liberal. I think he hit the nail on the head. Obviously, that was 100,000% why people don't trust the media. Because y'all don't keep the same
Energy.
the same fire for the candidates that support your agenda.
Boom.
Imagine if they recorded Joe Biden every time in the Oval Office.
They probably would have had him shit on himself a couple times.